everyone, I am your host, Steph Strickland, for your Sun It Fun at Home Edition Performer Profile. We have so much fun stuff planned for you throughout the entire month of May and beyond. But right now, I want to bring in Greg Gibson, the man from Sun and Fun. Hey, buddy, happy birthday, by the way. I hope you are having a most fantastic day. Tell us a little bit on your birthday what Sun and Fun Home Edition is all about.
Well, Steph, we're so glad to be back here again. Thank you for the birthday shout out. I appreciate that very much. The Sun and Fun Home Edition. You know, we couldn't have our beloved event here at the beginning of April, and everybody's so bummed out about it. We said, why don't we figure out a way that we can take all that fun to our fans? So, the Sun and Fun Home Edition is like you said. Really, it's going to be almost a year of great entertainment that we're going to push out over the internet through cyberspace and try to bring as much of the experience that you might have had at our place into your place. So really looking forward to it. And I got to tell you, it's a whole lot easier running an air show than it is running this stuff. This is my hat's off to you guys, Live Air Show TV gang, everybody that puts this on is just fantastic. So thanks for that.
You know what? It's our pleasure to do it in a time like this. Really quickly, Greg, one of the fun things that Sun and Fun and all of us are working on is bringing you into the fold. Those of you watching right now on Facebook, if you're seeing this, share it. Let's have other people come in and join the conversation. I have the chat open right now. We've got Sandra saying hi from Fort Lauderdale. We've got Yvonne checking in from Austria, folks from all over the place. So by all means, come be a part of the conversation. Really quickly, we have giveaways, free things for you. I want to give a shout out to Garrett Dempsey. Last time we did this, he won the t-shirt, and Kathy Desmond, she won the 4-pack of tickets, the collectible for the 2021 Sun and Fun. And by the way, if you purchase one of those t-shirts on the Sun and Fun website and you wear it to the show at 2021, they'll have the Prize Patrol out and about, and you can get some really cool upgrades and cool things like that. All of the money, every penny you spend going to a very good cause. The information right there at the bottom of the screen. So again, congratulations. By the way, let us know where you're watching from, and that's how we'll determine our next winners for the t-shirt and for the 4-pack of tickets. Now, I want to bring in our friends from the GEICO Skytypers. We are joined now by the commanding officer and flight lead, Larry Arkin, as well as Chris C.T. Thomas, who is the #2 right-wing pilot. You gentlemen, and Larry, we'll start with you. You had a very, very busy morning. Tell me what you guys did today.
Yeah, first, thanks to Greg and you guys all for inviting us. Great to work with you again, Steph. Yeah, we had a super day today. You know, we've been talking with our sponsor, GEICO, about doing something great for all the people that put their lives ahead of ours. And today we did a flight, a skytyping flight. We do skytyping, we do air shows. Today was the skytyping flight that we did over New York City and the New York metro area to thank first responders, healthcare professionals, and essential workers. And it was just our way of saying thanks to all of them for doing it. We did it over New York. It happens to be our home and our home base. And it also was the epicenter in many ways of the pandemic. So we did it as a way of thanking them, and it just felt really good in our hearts to do it. And fortunately, GEICO stood behind us and helped us do this mission today. So we're very grateful to them, and very honored to be able to salute the people that are out there helping us get back to normal.
Absolutely. Brittany Nielsen from GN Air Show saying, happy birthday, Greg, checking in as well on the chat. CT, I want to bring you into the conversation because you actually got your start with the GEICO Skytypers ferrying planes. And do I have that right?
Yes, I am a civilian background, and I came in originally slated to do summer skytyping and ferry airplanes for the air show team pilots.
So to either one of you guys, how difficult is this? I know, Larry, you and I have talked about the back end that goes into the skytyping, but I find it fascinating because it's maybe not as difficult as people would think. Walk me through that process of skytyping.
Well, you know, like I said, we do air shows, right? We have a lot of former military aviators, fighter pilots doing the air shows for the military tactics and the real tight formation and all the different kind of maneuvering that we do during the air shows. But the skytyping is a little bit more tame in many ways. We take off in a basic formation. We climb up to altitude. The hard job for the pilots is to hold what we call a line abreast formation, or a frontline formation, sometimes for 45 minutes to an hour in a specific position. You know, if you fly formation, it's actually easier to fly very close to each other. It's much harder when you're further away because you can't see the movement of the airplanes in your corrections. So when I tell somebody, hey, go out about 3 wing lengths away from me, hold a specific position, and they have to be just a touch higher so the end guy can see underneath them to see the spacing on the lead ship. It also involves a skill set, but it can get monotonous after a while where your focus changes. So the pilots have to hold this frontline formation for a long period of time. On the other hand, the computer system actually works our smoke. Our smoke goes out in milliseconds. It puffs smoke randomly for the different airplanes, for the 5 airplanes that are up there. We form giant letters in the sky. Each letter, believe it or not, Steph, is as tall as the Empire State Building. Each message is about 2 to 3 miles long. It can be seen in about a 15-mile radius. And in the New York metro area, about 3.5 to 4 million people get to see this message. So we call ourselves the largest text messengers in the sky.
You have to love things in the digital era. I wanted to give a quick shout out to Ed. Ed, thank you so much for sharing the live. I got a notification that you shared it so more people can see it. Guys, I'm not done with talking about Skytyping. That's fascinating just how big the stage is. But we asked people on the Sun and Fun Instagram if they would tell us what they would put if they had the opportunity to sort of feed into your computer system to display. Claire Fisher 05 says stay home and watch air shows. We understand. Maddie from Space Camp says aim high, and Kimber in Wonderland says believe. So one of the things, and I talked to Larry Arkin about this before we started this, guys, if you hop in the comments right now on our Facebook Live, you let us know what you would like to say to a first responder, to a loved one, maybe to a service member, maybe to your parents. We're going to pick someone, and Larry Arkin is going to Skytype that message at some point, take a picture of it, and send it to you. We'll work out the details later. Greg, let me bring you into the conversation because I want to know how much you like these surprises that I keep dropping on you without telling you. Am I still hired? Are we doing okay here?
Oh man, Steph, that is so cool. Larry, you guys, shucks. That is just the coolest thing ever. And what a way to take this social media, internet-driven cyberspace world and bring it home to the people that are watching this and be able to see that cool message up in the sky. So it's that instant type of response we talk about now. You guys are just fantastic. Thank you very much. Steph, nice work always. You're still good.
Yeah, okay, good. Just happy to hear that. By the way, you can see the guys tomorrow on Fox and Friends, where they actually talk about the flyover that they did today over New York City. So make sure to check that out on Fox and Friends tomorrow. I want to shift gears just a little bit right now and talk about your long history with Sun and Fun. Because between you, Larry, and UCT, you both have these incredible stories that revolve around the Sun and Fun experience and family. So, Larry, let's start with you. When did you first start coming to Sun and Fun, and what are some of your favorite parts about it?
I think, we've been coming for many, many years, actually before Greg was there, and, always in the lights, lights taking care of Sun and Fun. But, Sun and Fun happens to be one of our winter training homes, and a lot of people don't know that, but we leave many of the airplanes there during the winter time, and we go down in the warmer weather to work with them and fly and train new pilots, because our other airplanes come back to New York where it's actually cold and these airplanes don't have heat. They come back to New York to get major maintenance, but we always leave 3 or 4 of them down there. We give Greg Gibson and lights, the keys to them so that they can go start them up and go fly them around a little bit for us and keep them exercised. But they're a home away from home. People of Sun and Fun are great. The people at the Aero Club are just super. I mean, I'm sure Greg will tell you more about the Aero Club, but you go over to the Aero Club and you see what they're doing with airplanes over there, and it just sparks our interest. I mean, I started as an A&P mechanic when I was 17 years old, actually as I was going for my private pilot license. And so walking around that whole place is just a marvelous place. I mean, there's an F-14 parked there, and one of our pilots, Chris Orr, used to fly that exact F-14. So there's so much history there that it's a welcoming place. So in my heart, it's my home away from home, and those are kind of the people that I entrust with watching these machines when we're not using them as much during the wintertime. And CT is down there probably as much as I am, if not more, doing a lot of stuff. So I'll let him jump in as well.
Yeah, CT, take it away.
Well, I started going down there. I was my late teens in the late 1980s, and by the early 1990s, I was flying a Blanca Cruise Air down there and camping out under the wing and spending my time on the other side of the fence. And I've told Larry this several times. You know, the point's not lost on me that I've been there many times as a spectator. To me, the best part of going down the Sun and Fun as a spectator was the evening programs, camping underneath the wing, the people that you meet and just hang out with. You know, you have a common bond. But then, you know, the point's not lost to me as a performer that, you know, we fly the show. That's really neat. But then you get in the back of the car and you go down the crowd line and you're on the other side of the fence. So there's kind of a magical point of that of, you know, I can closely relate to being on both sides of the fence. But I really like when we're there, the kids and the interaction. I went to a school called Admiral Farragut Academy, and last year, or I guess for the last 2 years, they have brought probably about 30 or 35 of their aviation high school kids over. And it's a school that I went to, and we bring them out to the airplanes, give them a tour, and it was just really interactive, smart, engaging kids. They're working on their private pilots, their instruments, their commercial, and just very articulate young 17 and 18-year-old kids that we put them in the airplane and let them sit there. We talk about flying formation, the different things that we're looking at, the safety that goes into that, what it takes to run a team, what it takes to fly an airplane. Most of us are also airline pilots. So talking about careers doing that, a couple of them were interested in maintenance. We've got 3 full-time mechanics. So I took them over to the mechanics and let them talk about, you know, aviation maintenance careers. There's so many different facets of aviation that you can touch upon when you're there.
I love it, CT, because they just brought up I think that's your RV6A next to the airline that you fly for. I am part of the Vans Air Force, at least by desire, a student pilot perpetually in training, as they say. I want to talk to you a little bit about your love of, you know, basically the Vans product line, between the RV12 legacy that you sometimes you did a test flight for that, as well as your RV6A. That's something that's near and dear to your heart.
Yeah, I've flown probably every model of the RV at one point or another. That's the picture that's up now. That's a 12 that 3 really interesting guys built, and I came in to test fly it, fly the restriction off, and then actually give each one of them a checkout in the airplane. But I've owned the 6A. I've got a partner in that airplane for about 7 or 8 years. He's actually chairman of air operations, volunteer down there at Sun and Fun, another JetBlue pilot. And we've been partners in that airplane. And airplanes they're a compromise. And the RV series is just an airplane. It does everything pretty well. It's aerobatic. It does formation flying. I got my start in the, as I said, I'm a civilian pilot, but got my start with a FFI, Flying Formation Incorporated, the RV group of Flying Formation with them, and attending a clinic there a couple years ago, or several years ago, flying there. Later flew with the Red Star Pilots Association, which is the YAC group, and that picture's at a clinic down in Waycross, Georgia, and got started there. Ultimately, I joined a team called the Bandit Flight Team, which is RVs, and they kind of specialize in showing up in the last 30 seconds of national anthems, and it's all RVs, 2 yaks. The RVs have white smoke. The yaks have red and blue smoke on the wingtip, and they show up in the last 5 seconds of the national anthem. Homes for Heroes, football games, NASCAR events, and just honed my skills and flew there. But the RV was just a great airplane to be able to do that.
I have a big smile on my face just hearing your passion for this. I'm going to bring Greg into the conversation in a minute, but I just want to let Rick Rains know. People are suggesting what they would like to see you guys Skytype, and Rick Rains has a really nice one saying better days are ahead. Rick, we all feel that way. For those of you who are hungry for air show and aviation content, you can find it at the website right now at the bottom of your screen. There's also a really simple text to give number that works in the United States. And for our friends, lots of you watching abroad, I can't even keep up on all the comments. You can also visit the website, and we're just sort of rotating through that. Now, Greg, we did see the photo of you there, basically with the opportunity to, as you joked earlier, have the keys to all these airplanes. What's it like to be in such a good partnership with the GEICO Skytypers, as it also pertains to the young men and women who are affiliated with the Lakeland Aero Club?
You know, first, again, just a big thanks to Larry and GEICO for putting that opportunity in our neighborhood there, because it really is a neighborhood. It's a family, and we look at it definitely that way. And the young men and women there at the Lakeland Aero Club are really where we take our Aerospace Center for Excellence all of the training and teaching and all the stuff in theory and put it to work in the Lakeland Aero Club. So those young men and women are there building aircraft, they're maintaining their own aircraft, and then to have, such a fantastic, very famous group of aircraft, not, just because of what GEICO and the team does with them, but with what they represent from our history. So connecting that history to our present, and of course that of building the future, is what that relationship really fosters. So when they get a chance to wash them, I've taken a couple of those young men and women flying in the aircraft. We do some local events, planes, trains, and automobiles. We've had, when they had spring training the last couple of years, I was able to fly over a couple of the Detroit Tigers training camps and things like that. So it's neat to have them out in the community. It's neat to be able to show that there's such a big part of what we do. They come to the air show. Right now we're on an alternating schedule where they'll come in every other year into Lakeland and perform at the Sun and Fun Aerospace Expo. But there's part of them that is always there, and the photographs that are on the wall, the memories that are in the people that get to interact with them, and of course the way that they get to see those historic aircraft in our hangars year round. And of course we have almost 90 events there on the Sun and Fun Expo campus, and the aircraft are out and available for people to take pictures of and look at. And I'll occasionally blow some smoke over the top of a barbecue now and then. So it's a lot of fun. It's a really neat deal. It's good community relationship.
Makes me wish I lived closer. Larry, I want to talk about something, since a lot of us right now are in kind of a stand down situation, a stay at home situation. I want to know about something you're pursuing. Not that any one of us have a lot of downtime, but you are working on getting your helicopter endorsement. Am I correct about that? Tell me more.
Yeah, it's something I always wanted to do. I always just wanted to fly a helicopter. And in our off season, of course, I fly for the airlines too. I'm a captain with American. And in our off season, where I don't have to intermingle the shows in the middle, I said, all right, now's the time to go for my helicopter rating. So I actually started it right after the first of the year, and I was working on it. And I was trying to get it done before air show season starts. Well, air show season has pushed off. So that's my social distancing has been getting in the helicopter and working on my commercial pilot rating. And so I'm told in about a week, I'll go for my check ride. I'm about that close to it. So I've been doing it twice a week, and it's just an absolute blast. I've been flying a Robinson R-44 Cadet. And it's everything that I wanted it to be. It's concentration. I mean, to do one thing, you have to do three things. So it's very different than any fixed wing flying that I ever did before. You move the cyclic, you got to move the collective, you got to move the pedals. It's a constant menagerie. It's almost like a schizophrenic palm tree.
Yeah. So some of us learn how to fly helicopters, and some of us learn how to bake bread. So clearly I need to up my game. I think it's super impressive.
And I didn't do very good at the bread part, so I figured I'd fly a helicopter.
Hey, I want to talk to you, CT. One of the things that you really like to do sort of on the side is to ride motorcycles. You're super passionate about that.
Yes, I've been riding, kind of started with a Harley years ago and sold that, and I've gotten into adventure motorcycle riding. So twice there's a group of us that have been down to Ecuador and ridden off-road through the Andes Mountains. It's pretty, best way to describe it is magical experience. We're up at 15,500 feet delivering school supplies to kids that live in mud houses up in the Andes Mountains. And we rode 9 days the first time and 6 days the second time. We drove down the Pacific coast through the Andes Mountains. Last summer, we did 9 national parks through Colorado, 6 days, all off-road. And right now, with my downtime, there's a road called the Trans-Virginia Trail, starts on the East Coast and goes out into West Virginia, west of Charleston. And you can ride the majority of it off-road through Virginia. So I've been plowing my BMW through the dirt roads and mud holes through Virginia and West Virginia for the last couple of days.
Very nice. Now, CT, I have to tell you, I noticed something behind you in your office. You can't quite see it, but it's a mandolin. And so I asked Larry, I said, Larry, do you have any video of CT actually playing said mandolin? He said, why, Steph, yes, I do. So he sent it to me. So let's take a second, and you can see CT playing the mandolin. So this question is coming to you from Mark Allen. What's What's with the mandolin and all these instruments? Where did this come from?
There was a period of time when I played in a bluegrass band. I've got the formation time, the amount of safety and planning and what it takes to be a team member kind of takes away from that. So I'm just going to say I dabble in music playing now. Halfway decent mandolin player. I played at the guitar. There was a ukulele up on the wall too. But anyway, now I just got to play. It's harder to get out and play with friends as much as I'd like to. But years ago, it was quite a commitment.
That's fantastic. Larry, let's go ahead, and I want to talk to you about two of the themes that are near and dear to your heart and the team's heart. So we're talking about STEM engagement, as well as the 75th anniversary of the Allied victory in World War II. Let's go ahead and start by talking about the importance of STEM in everything you do. And you've touched on it. Even with the Lakeland Aero Club, you've touched on how it's important to be engaged and think about the future. Tell me a little bit more about that.
You know, to me, the future is our youth. I have two young kids, and the future is our youth, and getting them involved in all these different programs is how, you get them involved in aviation, you get them involved in these STEM programs. It's bringing them up, keeping them off the street, and finding out what their passions are and trying to move forward by giving them things, showing them what the world has to give. And I just think that, as adults, you need to kind of take the youth by the hand and give them the right direction. And the STEM program at Lakeland, I mean, when I've heard Greg and Lights talk about it, it's phenomenal what they're doing with the program down there, and what they're doing for youth. So I just think it's fabulous. I mean, everybody's jumping a little bit on the STEM bandwagon, and I think that's a wonderful thing. To make sure that, that's our insurance for our old age, is to make sure the youth moves up into these programs.
Well, before we switch gears and talk about the Allied victory, the anniversary of it, I have to tell you, Lights is actually in the chat watching, and he does have a question for you, Larry. Lights wants to know, how old were you when you did your first loop, and was it a good one?
I did my first loop in a T6G with a gentleman called Pete Vandersloot. He flew with a team called the Six of Diamonds. It was him and a guy named Dan Damio, who's still one of our ace examiners. And I did a loop in a T6G, and it was good. But I remember, I learned to fly at Flushing Airport, and many people don't know what that is, but it was a little airport that was right near LaGuardia Airport. It was a 2,100-foot runway. It had 1,800 feet of usable length. It had apartment buildings on each side of the airport, and I learned how to fly a T6 and a J3 Cub out of Flushing Airport. So it was challenging at best. And on my first landing with a T6, I landed at Flushing Airport. Pete Vandersloot was in the back seat. I was all of about 18 years old, I think, at the time. This was the biggest airplane I had ever flown. And I came in there way too fast, barely got it stopped at the end of the runway, turned off. And Pete yelled. He didn't even talk through an intercom. He yelled from the back seat, "What are you trying to do, friggin' kill me?" And that was after my first loop.
That is a good story. I love it. Lights, great question. Thank you for chiming in. I have another question for you, Larry. Drew Watson, who is watching from Hawaii, wants to know why you chose the variant specifically. He's very familiar with these aircraft, and he mentioned, and unfortunately, I don't have the depth of knowledge that he does specifically, but he mentioned the different sort of rudder. So he's just curious why you guys chose the airframe that you did.
Well, we actually have 3 different airframes. We have 4 SNJ2s. We used to have 6. We have, for different reasons, moved away from the SNJ2, and we have 4 of the SNJ2s. I think there's about 8 or 9 of them left in the country. And then we replaced one with an SNJ3 with a T6G mod, which basically, the SNJ2 has 180 gallons of fuel. It's a Navy aircraft. It was set to be a reconnaissance bomber trainer, reconnaissance trainer. It had very long range on it for the aircraft carriers, that the way it was designed. Well, the SNJ3 had a shorter range, but then they came up with this G-mod where they put bladders in the wings and they made it a steerable tail wheel. The airplane is a longer airplane, so it doesn't need this big round rudder on it. So they put a triangle rudder on the airplane when they went to the SNJ-3 from the SNJ-2. And one of our other airplanes, which is our number 6 airplane, is actually a T6G that we recently bought about 2 years ago. So we have a T6G and SNJ-3 with a T6G mod, and the other ones are pure SNJ-2s. For the aviation enthusiasts out there, I think I've given them quite a bit of information of what the fleet is comprised of.
I feel like I'm studying for my FAA knowledge test again. I'll definitely have to try to, there will be a test later. There will be a quiz. CT, I want to bring you back into the conversation and talk to you about the importance of keeping kids in touch with history, given the wonderful historical significance of the aircraft you fly.
I think, when the kids come out to the airplanes, and most every air show we do, there's public outreach that we do. Sometimes we're going to schools, other times they're coming to us, but there's so much you can talk about with the airplanes. The STEM aspect that Larry talked about, the fact that you can combine, it's one of the few fields that you can talk about, geometry, physics, chemistry, absolutely everything at the same time, and help them use some terms that they probably didn't think they were going to be able to use. But then also the fact that you talk of the historical aspect of that airplane, and depending, you got to vary what you're just talking about, to who your audience is. Sometimes they're high school kids, sometimes they're elementary school kids. So you kind of vary what your introduction to the airplane is. And sometimes it's just what the parts of the airplane are and kind of big, broad concepts. And other times we're talking about the history and the role that it played in the war. You point out the significance of the engine, which is actually on the National Historical Register for significance. The 1340 changed the Pratt & Whitney 1340, certainly changed the war. You can talk about the fact that the plane I fly is the number 2 airplane. It's a 1941 SNJ-2. It's 79 years old. It's equipped with the latest avionics. So it's got Aspen, PFD inside, Garmin 430 with WAS, angle of attack indicators, but it's a 79-year-old airplane. So it's the greatest of the old with the newest of the new. And you can look at the airplane and talk about the impact of what it had. And then you point out to people that third world countries, places, not that South Africa's third world, but I fly with a guy at JetBlue who flew the T6 in combat in the 1980s for the South African Air Force. And you talk about the fact that, it's not that long ago that he was actually flying that airplane for a military service, but it was 79 years old, training the greatest generation, the pilots of World War II and Korea. So there's a lot of points that you can touch on with kids. And it's enjoyable to see people at every air show and make the conversation fit who you're talking to. A guy introduced my at Vero Beach Air Show, I think last year, guy's leaning over the fence, frantically waving. The team's trying to move somewhere to another public event, but he's waving, and I go over and I talk to him. And turns out he was a colonel in the Indian Air Force, and he had been an instructor in the T6 and had all kinds of questions and wanted to tell me stories. So the people that you meet along the way is really cool.
Without a doubt, that's what makes this a family and makes us keep coming around. I want to talk to you, Larry, really quick. We got a question from Nicole, and the question actually made me think about the process. Her question was, hey, are you hiring pilots? And I recognize the answer to that question, at least in terms of the team, is no. But what is the process for choosing this team? A lot of you guys have flown together for quite some time.
Yeah, so it does have a process, and CT came on board with that process. And actually, it's the same process with all my military pilots. I have F-15 pilots and F-18 pilots and F-14 pilots, but the biggest problem with them is they're really good with formation, but they don't know what to do with a radial engine or a tail wheel. They don't have a clue. So when they want to fly with me, the first thing I say is, hey, go down to Lee Louderback or Tom Richards in Florida and go get your T6 check out. And if you're willing to write that check and get that experience and come see me, because I'm not into banging up my airplanes. And most of them take that road if they don't have tail wheel time. In the case of Chris, he was the other extreme. He had a tremendous amount of tail wheel time and aeronautical experience, but he had very little formation time. So I go, okay, Chris is not going to be a great air show pilot, but he's going to be a good Skytyping pilot, ferry pilot, for the team. So the way we normally start, and this is for whether you're a fighter pilot or whether you're, a civilian pilot, is you start by skytyping, right? You fly on nice days when the conditions are fairly good, and we're doing local, easy flights, and we try to teach you how to fly the airplane, fly some basic formations so you can skytype and what we call station keep. Once you show me the confidence that you can do that, then I say, okay, now you could fly the airplane, and ferry the airplane. And usually that starts as a VFR only process, because what a lot of people don't know is we fly formation in the clouds. We go IFR and we break into 2-3 ship sections and we fly in the clouds. And that comes with military training. So on the ferries, sometimes we'll have them go solo VFR or solo IFR, and then eventually we have them fly formation with us, and we ferry the airplanes for the airshow pilot. An airshow pilot does skytyping, ferry, and air shows. The skytyping pilots do skytyping and then eventually ferry. Then we watch the pilots, and when there's a vacancy in the airshow team, we had Bob Johansson flew with me for many years. He was my slot pilot. He reached an age where he goes, I'm retiring and I'm done. So that creates a vacancy. So now we look among the team and we have a team discussion, and we'd say, hey, who's the next possible candidate to bring over to the team? And we bring them on the airshow side, and we get many of our fighter guys that as good as they are now with the airplane as flying, we take them out, we start running, and we come down and see Greg, and we spend many days down there, and we go out to a couple of practice areas and we work them over for probably 4 days straight, 3 hops a day, and they come back absolutely exhausted going, hey, I did not think that this was this hard to do. It's because of the way we do it. And that's how they promote up to the airshow pilots. So that's pretty much the pathway that it takes to get there.
I have another really cool behind the scenes video to show everyone. But by the way, for those of you watching on the stream, thank you so much for sharing this live. I see those notifications pop up. We appreciate it. There is a text to give number that keeps showing up here at the bottom of your screen, as well as the website with all of the information, all of the cool experiences, the giveaways, the treasure hunts, all of the things that are going to make the Sun and Fun at Home Edition so special. But guys, I want you to watch this video with me. This is something that's never been seen before. So let's go ahead and roll it. And the first thing we're going to see is a little bit of your briefing. Everything starts with practice, and it starts with discussion and a proper briefing. And then the cool part about this video is you're going to take us through as you walk the show on the ground and then fly it in the air. You guys, check this out. I just got busted on camera, didn't I? Yeah. All right. Well, so here's a little known behind the scenes feature. I have to keep my computer on an ice pack, and this ice pack is totally melted because it overheats. So I was in the middle of swapping that out when we popped back up. Guys, what we wanted to show you there was the cool reason that they start on the ground rehearsing the maneuvers. Larry or CT, or both of you guys, explain to me the importance of doing that on the ground so that you can translate it to what you fly in the sky.
Go ahead, Chris.
We start each day, we fly an 18-minute air show routine, but our day is almost 8 hours long. So we arrive in the morning, typically at an air show, if we fly at 1 or 1:30 in the afternoon, we're going to show at the airport at about 8 in the morning. We're going to do this. Everybody gets a few minutes to take care of their personal needs at their locker, kind of get organized for the day. But we go into the briefing room, and we're going to watch the previous show, talk about what went right, what went wrong. And it's the small details that other people can't see, but we're aiming for perfection. The bar is extremely high. So we're going to brief. We're going to talk about specifically about the layouts that get sent out in advance of that specific show that people can take a look at and preview obstacles, terrain, landmarks, things like that. We're going to talk in detail. We'll typically take, on the first day of the show, we're going to take a safety item. And if it's an overwater show, we're going to talk about water survival, possibly for 20 minutes. A pilot's going to be assigned that task. We're going to come back, The Diamond, the 4-ship, is going to have a brief of their own, specific to how we're going to fly, things that we're going to work on, things that we're going to improve. The Solos are going to do the same thing. After that, we're going to take a break, and then we're all going to go outside, and we're going to walk. We'll call it a walkthrough, and we're going to walk through and rehearse the show. We face the same direction on the ground that we're going to fly in the air. We talk about where the wind is from. The flight lead, Larry, and the lead solo are going to talk about corrections that they're going to make for the wind. So you can see that everything is planned in great detail. A few more minutes of personal time, kind of decompress, last minute briefing before we'll all come together as a group again. And then typically we try and go up and Skytype for our sponsors before the show. We fly the show. The show was videotaped. We're going to come back and we're going to do it all in reverse. We watch the show. We talk about what we did right, what we did wrong, how the corrections were for the win that day, things that we're going to improve upon for tomorrow. And then we spend usually 45 minutes to an hour and 15 minutes debriefing the show. And like I said, you're seeking a level of perfection. I can tell you, you could look at a show and say, man, that was an absolutely fantastic show. We all start our day by walking into the room and say, this is what I didn't do so well yesterday, and this is how I'm going to improve it. And your team members are going to hold you accountable for that. So the bar is extremely high. When I first came to the team, something was being asked of me, and I was kind of stumbling around. And I remember a guy looking at me across the room, and he said, you know what excuses are? And I looked at him and kind of paused. And he said, they're tools of the weakened and the incompetent. Which one are you? So it's just, like I said, the level, the expectation, nobody's perfect, but everybody's expecting you to come prepared and do the absolute best job and have a high level of expectation for yourself and your teammates.
I want to let you know in the chat, Roberto is saying that's a fantastic answer. Very proud of all of you. Also, Marcy saying, wow, that was awesome. Thank you for that. So this has been incredible to have people join in on the chat in real time, able to interact with you guys. Greg Gibson, I want to, if I can, also bring you back into this conversation. One of the things that is important is the love that we give to the sponsors and the love that we get from the sponsors. And it's a two-way street, and it is what enables you to get the kids and the future of aviation up and running, be it the mechanics and the maintainers and the pilots. Talk a little bit about some of your biggest supporters briefly, if you would, please.
You bet. Well, our sponsors are our lifeblood, and I know Larry and CT can relate to that. But you know, the mission at the Aerospace Center for Excellence, which the Sun and Fun Aerospace Expo supports, is to engage, educate, and accelerate the next generation of aerospace professionals. All of our sponsors, you know, we have some fantastic folks. We have Bose, we have Aeroshell, we have, of course, GEICO has been with us, you know, for a long, long time. Phillips 66, some of those folks have just really stepped up and given us the means to take this whole experience to the next level. They've really bought into our STEM operations. I can't, of course, go without thanking the Lakeland Leonard International Airport, where is our home. Gene Conrad and his team have been absolutely phenomenal, and our biggest supporters in bringing this institution now from what started 46 years ago as a gathering of enthusiasts and passionate people into the 21st century of now trying to bring more of those passionate people into the fold and become the next, like I said, generation of those people who are going to take those airline jobs. They're going to work in the desk and working as engineers to design the aircraft. They're going to work as loaders, maintainers. They're going to work as people that promote the airlines and, of course, the general aviation industry. You know, it's a wonderful environment that we're able to work in. And of course, without our big event, that kind of puts a little shaft in your action. So we're definitely out there with a request. You know, people would consider even a $5 donation at this point is absolutely necessary. We take everything we can get. We're working very hard to continue our education programs and make certain that we keep those programs vibrant and vital. We still have students in our private pilot programs are soloing right now. We have crossed 101 pilots that have gotten their certificates through our scholarship program, courtesy of the James Ray Foundation and the wonderful supporters that I mentioned. Of course, Visit Central Florida, Polk County Tourism and Sports Marketing are fantastic supporters year-round. come to our neck of the woods. Even when it's not Sun and Fun, you're going to find some really interesting things to do, and you can come by and see all of these fantastic things in action. Rick Garcia with Gulf Coast Avionics right there on the field is someone. He's our board chairman for the Aerospace Center for Excellence, and his company has had more to do with keeping our airplanes in the air sometimes than we do. The one you see behind me there is wonderful Wendy, and she's got a brand new ADSB in and out, and we've got a really great opportunity through Rick's support to be able to keep that airplane out, given some of those rides and inspirations as well. So I could go on and on. There are hundreds. So I'd like everyone who's supported Sun and Fun to really please know that we appreciate you very much, and that we're definitely going to be around for 2021, and we're looking for to give you support and also receive some as well as we move forward through these next several months.
Well, a lot of people in the chat, by the way, Greg, now wishing you a happy birthday. Larry, I do want to talk to you about GEICO quickly. Tell me about the GEICO commercial with the gecko in the back. How was that to put together? How did that happen?
We actually did that at the Westfield Barnes Air Show about, I think it was 3 years ago. And, we went out, they had cameras in the airplane in a lot of different directions. Actually, Mark McGinn from Onboard Images, he helped do that. He was hired by GEICO to help the production crew. And we went out, we did our rolls and so forth. And then they take the gecko and they actually put all our imagery on a green screen, and they animate the gecko back into it. And it was, then you come up with a commercial with the gecko basically getting sick in the back of the airplane, and you see us rolling around. But that's our actual footage. They just computer generate the gecko into it through a green screen after taking all this footage, and do whatever it is that they do in those magic studios to make that happen.
Well, as I get ready to wrap things up, that means if he's computer generated, we can make up all kinds of stories about what a diva he was to work with and how challenging the shoot was, right? Guys, I'm so appreciative of your time. I know you've had this incredibly long day, and we are glad that you gave people such a wonderful behind the scenes peek of everything. Very quickly, we do have Kevin Coleman coming up for you on Thursday as part of our next performer profile series. Obviously, the website and the text to give number there on your screen. Purchase a shirt. It's a collectible item. It's the greatest air show that never happened, and you can wear it in 2021, and the Prize Patrol will find you and give you cool things. Also, we'll make sure to give away both a t-shirt to someone who commented with their location, as well as an opportunity to win 4 tickets if you commented with your location. And then the Skytypers will choose someone, and your message will be Skytype, the GEICO Skytypers in the air. They'll take a picture and they'll send it to you. Some really nice ones. And by all means, share this particular live. Everyone, I hope you have a fantastic evening. We are back again 6 p.m. on Thursday Eastern with Kevin Coleman. Guys, have a great rest of your night. Thank you.
Thank you. Good night.
Thanks, Steph. Thanks, guys.
Steph.